No, AI is it is a very unsatisfying progress. Why do I mean by this? If you listen to what they tell us in the news,
Yeah.
you really think it's almost autonomous.
Yeah.
My experience, at least with off-the-shelf products online, is that at best is a mediocre junior
So,
that
I totally agree.
that gives you a proposal.
Yeah.
I use it for letters for work. I have to change 50% of it, which makes me feel useful still, but at least I have like a draft. I did actually yesterday when I was I was flying back from Taiwan. I did ask him to write 20 questions. And then of course I wrote my questions on top.
On top of it.
Yes. But again, it allows people to do many more things, because if I have to, from scratch, create a sort of set of questions that make sense, it is extremely time consuming.
Yeah, same for me. I use it as assistant. So it's a junior level assistant, but at the same time you can manipulate things that you are not, you want to make it fast. So you just having a speed up assistant that can help you out, like bounce back things. That's what I do it.
I think, frankly speaking, it is unsatisfactory, but the output has grown a lot.
Yeah.
Like my personal output, even when it comes to domestic things, like creating weekly menus. This is something that my mother used to do, to create, what we would eat on Monday dinner every day, every day of the year. And I find it very useful, because otherwise you need to improvise every time. And now with a baby, I feel kind of like responsible to eat okay. And I just tell you, make me an Italian Spanish inspired menu for the whole week with these ingredients. Okay, now make me the grocery list.
That's convenient.
But if you apply to this type of things, it's fantastic.
Yeah, if you apply the logic behind it completely, so it becomes very creative, actually. So I honestly use it even for like my social media post or my article that I do every day.
Yes.
I use it to get inspiration and summarize certain things that might be actually very complex and very long to explain. So that kind of summarization and bullet point gives you the brief. So actually, you briefed, and then they give you back another brief. And within that brief, you have a white paper to work on it. That's the way I use it. So I bounce it back completely all the time. Like I even provoke him.
Okay.
Sometimes I even insult him.
Yes. How is that? How does that work?
Let's say, so AI basically work on input, okay? So he basically search on whatever millions or trillions of informations, and he work on the input. The more input you give it to him, the more actually reacted, and the more accurate the input are, the more you actually are sophisticated. So at the same time, if you try to give him a tone, like you provoke him, and you give him like a certain command, an aggressive command, he replies and he put a slightly more effort. I found that incredible. So it does actually work in this way. I found that. I don't know if it's a common thing, but I found it very incredibly when you actually are demanding on a level of like when you demand to an employee, like you raise your voice.
Yes.
And you're not becoming rude. You're just like, I need that tomorrow, right? So that kind of firm questions actually allows you to get a proper answer, and I found it incredible. So
it's a little bit inspiring and unsettling at the same time. So let me see if I got this right. I tell him to write, I don't know, a summary of whatever.
yeah,
I don't like it, and I can tell him, I feel you're being lazy.
correct.
Try again, and he's gonna do a better job.
He says sorry to you. First, he says sorry.
Yeah, I hate that part.
Yeah, I hate that part too. So he says sorry, and then you actually can be even overcome that and say, I don't need a sorry. I need the thing to be proper summarized, and do not repeat the sentence that you just sent me above. So create something extremely creative and new. Inspire me, okay? With that kind of tone. Even the grammar, it's not extremely, I wouldn't say complete. I wouldn't use, I don't use please make that. I remove all the unnecessary thing. I go very straightforward, and that kind of gives it a tone of order.
Yes.
So give me that within 5 words. I need 5 words to summarize that.
Yes.
So that kind of tone to me, gave me a lot of interesting answers. So, and I use it in this way. So I have my own relationship with AI.
Yes. No, the only time I actually had a proper conversation with a bot was actually to ask different sides of an issue.
Mhm.
For example, I'm gonna go into a controversy without being controversial. In the Israel-Gaza thing, okay, one can be. I am convinced that a priori you have one position or the other, and then you can modify a little bit, but you tend to want to favor one side or the other depending on your beliefs. But then it's actually quite useful to try to get the other position. So I ask him, it's okay, what would this side say to defend their position in this issue? What would the other side? And then you get
Yeah.
quite a nice panoramic of a historical event or anything. Or you can tell him, summarize this part of the 20th century. And then suddenly propaganda is less useful. So I am very hopeful, despite the fact that you have biases in the bot, because internet is made by smart white people and Asian people, frankly. And I'm sorry, but that's truth. I'm not trying to say that's better or worse, but Silicon Valley is made of people that look in that way, and Indian. So
Definitely. A lot of
yeah.
I have to say one thing on in contrary on the AI usability and improvement. I start using AI on the late 2021. Okay, when the first ChatGPT started to get out. I think it was like late 21 or 22, early 22. So when people started to really discovering. Okay, so I remember the answer that AI, the bot used to give it to me, were very, very interesting, creative, and different. Okay, there is one thing that I noticed very, very much in the recent times, and I guess the reason why has been because AI, basically ChatGPT, for example, got millions, trillions of inputs daily by humans.
Yes.
Okay, so basically, a lot of you, I'm asking, for example, a common thing: correct my English, or correct my email, or rewrite the letter that I was mentioned to that I was writing above. So this is a very common request, and AI works in the trillion of requests of that kind of basic environment. So I found AI is getting stupid.
It's getting good at being mediocre. That's what you're saying.
It's getting good at being mediocre. It's getting very common. For example, before AI tend not to give you bullet points explanation. Now it's very common that it gives you like 10 different equations, bullet pointed, and it's super, super common that it explains to you in a very simple way, in a very basic way. While before I found it extremely new. Right now I felt like I always demand more, and I always said, this is very common, give me something more. This is like something boring, give me something extra. I need something creative. I'm not surprising with this. So that's my reply back to AI. And I think it's because human being.
It makes total sense. And linked to that, I want to ask you something. Nowadays, because of internet and the accessibility to technology, we have a lot of micro, nano entrepreneurs, business owners. This makes so funny. You see 12-year-olds on YouTube saying, I run 3 businesses. You have 3 Instagram accounts. What the hell are you talking about? And everyone, of course, in the past 5-6 years, there is a certain set of rules that have worked. How to make a thumbnail, how to name a book. This, for example, there is this technique of that if you want to hook your audience, it is more convenient to give them a finite number of things you're going to talk about. So you find out that you have 7 habits that will change your life, or 12 rules for life of Jordan Peterson. And in that sense, internet, and especially I'm a big YouTube consumer, so YouTube has it's all everything is a copycat of everything.
Mm-hmm.
I have the feeling that that model has reached a level of fatigue that will be the prelude for a change, and maybe go back to authenticity, even in the retention editing. Now there are voices saying, you know, Mr. Beast is good. Mr. Beast is good for Mr. Beast, but we need to start editing slower. Do you think we will go back to virtue, or things will be dopaminic as they have been until now?
Well, in my opinion, I mean, you can't stop that somehow. So basically, the younger generation are using more and more. So you're gonna have millions and millions more. So for sure, the problem is the attention span, in my opinion. So somehow the attention span reduces even our own. I mean, remember when we didn't have a phone, our attention span was much more, much less span than now. So right now you have like an extremely scrollable attention. So you spend more, probably 3 seconds on an article, 3 seconds reading a title, and then you jump to the next one if it doesn't interest you.
Yeah.
And very seldom you get into deeper. Even a video, for example, this podcast, let's say if it lasted, for example, 2 hours, it might be, yes, catchy, but at the same time, if it lasted probably 30 minutes, it might be more impactful. Or if it lasts even like 2 minutes, somehow you compress it and you create some intensity around it, and then it might get more and more attention. So because attention span it's lower and decrease within time. So I think the problem here is like how much you gain back the attention in the future that we lost it within the years. And honestly, me and you, we are I would say the generation that creates that. So we are the generation of Zuckerberg. We are the generation of creators of this TikTok and so on. So our brothers create that.
Yes.
And the younger generation are basically the user right now, and the users are saying, thank you very much, I'm getting my attention span to 0.5 seconds. So
it is insane.
So I do think, I don't know if I answered the question that you actually had, but I do think we are not going deeper back somehow into the authenticity you are probably looking for. We are going to an evolution that it might not actually be satisfied for our generation. So as I guess, and I wonder if probably how many generation of ours use TikTok. So for example, we don't.
No, and we live in Hong Kong.
Yeah, we live in Hong Kong. At the same time, the TikTok users are way younger than us.
Yeah.
So let's say around the world, our generation is the Facebook generation, okay? Even though I don't use it, but anyway, and Instagram generation, if you are a bit. But TikTok users, I mean, unless you're an influencer or you work around that, you're not probably going to as much appreciate that kind of velocity of contents. So.
No, it's true. But can it have a toll on mental... excuse me, my vocal cords today are screwed. Can it have an impact on mental health that then pushes people away from this type of content? This is where I'm going with it, because at the end of the day, we live in such a high-paced environment that you more and more you feel stressed out. I don't know if it's your case, but let's say it happens to everyone apparently, because you see a huge proliferation of remedies, cold plunge, sauna, meditation. I'm gonna go to pick up apples for a weekend. It means that that's a symptom of something that maybe one day when people will just stop seeing certain things. Me personally, I am avoiding certain type of content. Netflix movies, for example. The new ones are too fast. Look, I always tell the same anecdote. I was watching a romantic comedy in Netflix. I think one of these Adam Sandler stupid things, even though I love Adam Sandler, but that's a different story. And I went to bed after the movie agitated. The day after I watched...
because of the speed of the
yes,
comedy.
Because of the dopamine release. The day after I watched Hit with Al Pacino, Robert De Niro, Val Kilmer, which is one of my favorite movies ever. Everyone dies in the movie. And I went to bed as if I was watching a documentary about lions in the savannah, maybe this will happen with content as well.
Well, maybe my profession it gets into this, so maybe I'm too contaminated by my work as well. So I'm quite a strange person behind the scene, because for example, I don't use Facebook, and I don't use Instagram, I don't use social. The only social media I use is for work, is LinkedIn, and I sell social media management and I run advertising. So basically, I could consider my company also part of the evil behind the scene, of the one that boosts the dopamine and the one that boosts your attention. I mean, create the attention span, the low attention span, and also create the demands on a product. So I cannot consider myself completely angelic in this kind of situation. So the more you actually can raise attention in a short time, seconds, the more you actually can sell a product, the more you actually can probably convince someone else to buy a service. So this is what behind the scene is actually also a company work. So at the same time, I would say yes, it's totally dramatic what is happening, and it's totally the more we go in that direction, the more we're losing what you mentioned before, the authenticity. Now, for example, we mentioned before the AI. AI works in the speed of the light, so I can recreate anything I wanted in seconds. So the content becomes even more cheaper. So, for example, we can create a photo in 2 seconds that represent probably the work of 10 years ago of a photographer of 1 week and $1 million. Now you can recreate it in less than 3 seconds with no dollar. So that kind of velocity and quality, low quality, somehow reduce the entire secrets of things. So somehow
I am actually not too scared for my job when it comes to AI, because I believe that precisely because nowadays you can create anything digital, be it photo, video, audio, whatever. Seeing someone in the flesh, it's more and more important. And for you, that I imagine that I mean, you tell me if I'm right or wrong, but in your industry, I always imagine that the personal connection is a very important factor. Now that you've made it, in a sense, you are, I think, set. What happens to the what will an entrepreneur in branding in 20 years have to do to make the mark? It's a question that probably we don't even can imagine the answer.
No, I understand perfectly what your question is. I can see, for example, I started my own business 10 years ago, and 10 years ago, obviously, I was not here. So, and 10 years ago, somehow the business itself was actually entirely different. So right now we work on a very different tools. We have logic, we have strategy in a very different way. The company that I work with, my company, it's evolved a lot. But I would say I see a lot of young, the generation, my own generation, when I started my business, I was like 29. So my generation now, basically it's way more shy than before. So I remember when I was 29, I was trying to build my own company. So I was pushing myself over every possible connection. So I was even talking to downstairs the laundry person if he has some business aside. So I was trying to make business in every direction. Whatever I was sitting in a bar having a cocktail, so whatever I was having a coffee somewhere, or whatever I was in an event, in an art gallery, anywhere. For me, whatever you're out, there is business to get. So right now, this logic, especially on the new young entrepreneurs, the tech entrepreneurs that I see, their logic doesn't relate anymore. So now, for example, they said to me, I can make $100,000 just behind my computer. And my answer is like, sure, how long will last that kind of relationship?
Exactly.
Between you and behind the computer. And the answer, for example, they will tell me like, time now is different. And I will tell them, my logic is still the same, and I think relationship and human relationship are what people choose first. So somehow, look at, for example, us right now. So we're talking in front of each other. We are not Zooming, or we're not Teams at the moment, right? And how beautiful it's like having this kind of vibe on this table right now. So this kind of sensation, this kind of, you can feel the endorphin, you can feel someone in front of you. Right?
100%.
That's what makes trust. That what makes authenticity. That what makes belief. So I believe you are a serious person that I can work with.
Yeah.
I believe you're a perfectionist. I trust your word. I look into your eyes. I can see the air behind us. So all these kind of things, it's to me, it's business. So the behind the scene, the relationship I have with a computer and technology and AI, it's a tool.
Yes.
So if you do your entrepreneur journey in this way, I'm very sure he might be extremely successful like those YouTubers like Mr. Beast. But look at Mr. Beast as well. When he does things, he does live.
Yes.
Right? He goes offline.
Yes. Yes.
So
Yes. Yes. Yes.
he's with people.
Yes. 100%.
So he's never behind the scene entirely. So he built and he post-producing, of course, behind the scene. But then the relationship is with human. When you make a viral video, it's because there is a human connection. Very complicated to make a viral video with an AI. I don't think currently there might be any viral video made with an AI that I know.
No, probably not. Probably not anymore.
Let's hope we were in a mail like this.
No. I think more and more the commodity will be the content online. In my experience, when you reduce the 3 dimensions to a flat screen, the scope of the meetings is not even half of if you fly there. You would expect that nowadays, we Lodes, the company I work for during my daytime, we launch a catalog. Everyone has the new catalog. Everyone has had access to the presentation that I've done on Zoom. I'm still going to visit one by one.
Yeah.
And I'm still going to do Asia Pacific city by city, because otherwise they close this thing.
Yeah, completely.
And they forget.
It's irrelevant.
And they forget.
I agree with it, and I can see it that every day, and I believe it's the same way that we do business, so the same way that we purchase things as well. So most of the time, let's say, the human connection made a deal, not the product or not the services. There is a lot of cases, for example, also in my business, that I might have closed entirely my first years of career when there was just me and a computer, and after my partner. We closed business based on having nothing on hands. When you're starting a startup, you got your computer, you have your imagination, you have your creativity, and you're willing to sell.
Yes.
What else you got? You are the first client. You are signing the first client. The client knows perfectly, even though you show him the best case study that you don't have, knows perfectly that you are basically extremely eager to get the business because you can feel it.
Yeah.
At the same time, you can be the best liar ever, but if you never have done a project, how can you sign the first project?
It is true, and I believe I'm gonna just put a note there, because I've done the same. And even if you believe that you have created an amazing lie, after the years it was so obvious it was a lie that is embarrassing. But the people that hire you, they hire you because you tried.
Yes.
And my first boss in Italy, he said to me many times after the facts, Fernando, I hired you because you were desperate.
That's right.
And I was desperate, yes.
And most probably that desperation that you had was the one that makes you run like crazy to get the job and to work.
I would love, sometimes I think, I get yesterday I land from Taiwan. I get home at 1 a.m. And I had gone to Taipei in the morning. And I said, who the fuck makes me do this? Why don't I have a more chill approach? Take 3 days, sleep well. No one's going to say anything. No one's going to give me a medal for coming back in the same day. But at the same time, if I didn't have this drive, I wouldn't even have the fun that I have.
Mm-hmm.
And I have the feeling that you do the same. I had, as with every podcast that I do, I had a lot of things prepared at the beginning, and we jumped start to the middle. I have to. I think I'm going to lose my voice. 1 second. Sorry, guys. January has been very intense. Let's do a water moment because otherwise, no. Luckily, I'm gonna go to Bangkok, which is the cure for all
That's the beauty
for
of
all problems.
it's like a live thing, you know, the beauty of it.
Yes. No, and this has to be a conversation, even though today it will be a little bit more like a third grade, a terzo grado.
Mm-hmm. Oh.
No, because I want to extract a little bit of value for people that might be listening to it from the position that I am in, or even the position that my bosses are, because you have a very good and immediate insight into what's happening in this part of the world.
Mm-hmm.
Because at the end of the day, the engagement of companies in marketing says very much about the view that they have about the economic outlook. So we'll get into that later. Now we started talking about AI, but I really want to know what happened in your life recently, because I know we've met in 2019 in your office in Cyberport.
Oh yeah.
Because
Yeah,
I was working for a Thai brand, a good friend of mine, Nick, and Filippo Caracciolo recommended me that I went and talked to you, and I went to that labyrinthic building.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
And
I forgot about it. We met there.
and we had a nice chat. You already had a team of 10 or 12 people in Hong Kong, and you had Shanghai already,
Mm-hmm.
but now you have Italy as well.
Yeah.
What has happened? How did you manage to grow so much in a moment in which people were struggling?
COVID.
Ex-
Yeah. Actually, it's if you let me think about this, it was an extremely roller coaster, and I don't think it was a pleasant one. So I think it was an exciting roller coaster, an unpleasant one that gives you a result of something bigger. So let me start with you saying something that I believe a lot in business somehow, and it's the way I work and I think. We met this morning at the gym, right?
we did,
Right. So
and then in the locker, and then yes,
yeah, and then on the street in
The-
Shanghai. So the interesting fact of building your muscle. Okay, so basically the theory is like you are breaking your muscle to build a bigger one.
Mhm.
Okay, so basically you heavy lift, you break, you got pain, you
Yes.
suffer, you get the pain of it, and then after that you are growing your muscle. So if you do that constantly, basically you put yourself, you stress your body to get to achieve something more. And this has been always my way of doing it. So in business, but also in life. So in the last 3 years, basically I went to gym a lot, and not physically at the gym, but I went to gym in business
Mhm.
very much. So before I was more like let's say cardio one.
Yes,
In the last 3 years, I did heavy lifting.
personal best every day.
Yeah. So somehow, let's say, if you count on the last 10 years of the company that I built up, we built up actually, my partner Gabriele, you know as well. So together we did. We had an exponential growth every year until a point of course, COVID. So COVID has been affecting most of the industry. Especially in my industry, in marketing, I've seen a lot of company closing down during COVID. Main reasons: low cash flow,
Mhm.
high cost, rent, low projects, market is low. So the company in general around the world during COVID, the first thing they did to survive and also to strive at that time, it was to cut budgets on marketing. The first things you do when you're actually in crisis, what you do, you cut investment. That is actually exactly the opposite that you should do, right? So within that span of time of 3 years, it happened that we went to the highest peak, the lowest one, and back to the highest. And within that time, we managed to give ourselves something strong, some extra goal to reach, to put ourselves in this kind of stressful condition. So you remember the story of building muscle?
Yes.
Right? So COVID hits. We did one thing extremely interesting. After 3 months, still remember in 2020, after 3 months of COVID, we basically have zero cash, a lot of people, zero clients, and zero willing from the client side to give you money. So basically, we had a range of 2 to 3 months of survival mode. So at that time, we knew that thing couldn't last, the company couldn't last more than 3 months. At the same time, COVID, it was just started. So it was increasing and increasing and increasing. And I still remember in around April 2020, it was reaching a level of chaos.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, April 2020 is when people realized it was going to be longer than 3 weeks.
It was chaos. It was like a fuck. Sorry, I cannot say that.
Yeah, you can. Like, yeah, you can. I already said it.
Fuck.
Yeah.
It's like when is gonna end? And then at the same time, I said, if I can't reach the clients because the client has no money, so basically I'm surrounded by silence. So everything that I was touching, there was no door to open. And since I run most of the sales of the company, so I completely exhaust all the resources on selling. And then I said, okay, so this is what we have. So what we're going to do. And then one day I sit down with Gabriele and I told him, I have an idea. And he said, what do you got? I said, something you will tell me immediately, don't do it. And like I always do. So like I always talk with Gabriele. And he said to me, what is that? And I said, for the next 30 days, we are going to give everything, and we're going to spend money, the last money that we have, on advertise this idea. We're going to give for free every services to anyone that contact us in the next 30 days. So I spent money to advertise this concept of, call it 30 days ahead, helping helping companies going through COVID. So within a week of advertise, the Hong Kong government messaged us. The council of Hong Kong TDC, and he said, we like your idea. It's a good idea. Helping companies for free, it's something at this stage, it's a great thing. So within 2 weeks, we discussed with the government associations, and we discussed with chambers, we discussed with many entities, and they start to promote us. So basically in 30 days, we got around 15 clients for free. So now imagine you have a company that runs with no money, spend all the leftover, have to pay salaries at the end of the month. You have 30 days time where you have to serve these people for free and make sure that these 15 people, the month after, manage to give you money somehow. Manage to get attracted by you, manage to get results that can justify the fact that the month after, even though there are not much money around, so you have to be very convincing in these 30 days that you are the best and you are the only solution, building strategies to go through COVID. So within that 15 clients, we got 5 or 6, I remember, that continues the journey with us, still now.
Still now.
Yeah. So with us, continue the journey means they gave us fluid. So they gave us money, okay? So within that money, we start to build up confidence. We said, okay, now it's time to really work our ass out to get this, momentum and to continue this momentum. So luckily, at that time, digital started to pick up. So basically, the only services that we were selling were digital marketing. We are a branding agency with digital marketing services as well. So we start to switch the heavy lifting into digital marketing because we saw that there was a need of company to sell and not any company to build awareness. So we're switching that months and we start to acquire more and more traction, more and more market.
Yep.
So within the idea, within the government, within the things, within also the subsidy that the government gave it to us, because of course we also asked the government, said, okay, look, we are in a situation we have to pay MPF, SARS and so on. And then the line of desperation started to change. So within the 3-4 months, we started to really rebuild confidence on the team. The company started to really build up momentum. And that's when we saw, okay, now it's going to end. But in reality, it did not end. So COVID kept on going, and the market went even down and down.
Yep.
So we managed to stay really ahead. So we managed to survive, but also to kind of build up ideas more and more. At the same time, what we said is like, if we manage to get through this, what we're gonna do next is to put ourselves even into a more uncomfortable situation. So the uncomfortable zone becomes something exciting. So you work much better.
Yep.
When you're in an uncomfortable zone, you try your brain, I mean, at least my brain works per 3.
Yes.
So it gets into a mode, a different mode.
Yes.
So within that, I said to Gabriele, look, we are going to expand to Europe. And he told me, sure. With what? With no money, with no intention as much, with the COVID time that it was like in a fragment, up and downs, the company was like unstable. And then I said, I don't know, I'm going to go to Italy and see what we can build in Italy. I'm going to go to Milan and spend a couple of months in Milan and see if I can meet our new general manager. For 3 weeks that I spent there, I started to see, like, I had like probably, I don't know, 15 coffee a day with different people. So I put myself in every uncomfortable condition. And
Your heart was about to explode.
Completely. And then I had interviewed great talents, great people, very much interested on this part of the world. Compared to what everybody was saying, there was a lot of people with their eyes looking in this side of the world. And at the same time, I said, okay, I'm going to be ready to get some. I have like 5 candidates to become the general manager of Italy for us and to invest in what we're doing. And then I pack everything and I ready to go home. And then the day I have to take a flight to COVID. So COVID stopped me in Italy for another week. And then within that week, I received a phone call from a person that now is a general manager that says, Jacopo, I look at you are looking for expanding in Italy. I have a company that does exactly the services you're looking for. I would like to be part of
the project.
And then now we acquired the company. We merge in record time, in 2 months, because the goal was to be done within 2022.
Okay.
So we had this goal, and on 26th of December, we closed the deal. So you see, that kind of pushing your momentum and pushing your break point is what actually, after your break, you get the success. So you get the point where you can, be getting something. That's the way I logic and the way I work.
No. I resonate very much with that because a lot of times in my life, the most brilliant ideas or the most brilliant reactions, more than ideas, came when I was against the wall. Let's say there is no hope left. You go crazy mode, and you just say, okay, I'm not gonna starve. I have one thing that I tell to myself. I said, I'm not gonna starve because I know how to make drinks behind the bar, and I can go back to do them again.
Nice.
And this is when I'm, and I know I am very far from that point, but I still tell myself that when I'm about to take a weird decision or tough move, I said I can only go back to that, and I will probably be more happier than I am now. But
this is something that I also feel on that.
But then what do? You step back. It's difficult. I have one question that I wrote here. During this struggle period, especially April 2020 and what happened after, how aware was the team of this situation?
Frankly speaking, I think of course the top management knew everything, of course. The rest of the team took it a bit light. So they didn't know. I also communicate once, I remember on a quarter, this was last year. I remember I communicated that we were in a big loss. So somehow we did the investment of the Italian business, and we moved to a beautiful place in Soho House.
Congratulations. I am very envious. But we almost see each other from the window, to be frank.
So exactly.
From that window there, yes.
So in that sense, we push I would say we were very confident. So at that time, when we said we got the Italian office now, we got a new office, we are ready to build up. No other crisis can happen. Our business relied very much to China as well. So if you remember last year, so when we look at each other,
it's a nervous laugh. It's a nervous laugh.
We look at each other and say, no, it cannot be possible. Cannot be. And then we realized within January and February last year, and we said, now that we have done this, and we have this investment, and we have this investment, we managed to get until the point where we all set, now this happened. So now China basically has 6 months of no revenue, zero, because everyone stopped China.
Yeah.
Stopping to invest into China. And in this stage, we got my like, let's say I face the team and I actually tell them, look guys, we are in a dramatic situation. And the funny thing is, like 2 weeks before, we were celebrating the new office and a new thing. So everybody was like pumped up to a new business. And I think that kind of announcement and that kind of cold meeting, quarterly meeting, I think basically shocked a lot of the team. So some of them took it probably badly for the sake of being part of something that is not going well. And I guess some others probably felt the need of look, we have a beautiful place now. Personally, I might look for a raise or something, some advancement in that. And then the company was like bleeding at the time. So I have to really face the team and then be frank and do upfront with what happened. A lot of things happened during that year, so we gained back confidence. And we did a lot of things, and now it's getting a lot better. So the situation is way better.
I have a difficult question for us.
Yeah.
Because I want to try to answer it together with you. I don't want to give you all of the responsibility. I wrote it here. What do you think? Is the Chinese customer depressed or scared, or I let you complete that phrase?
For sure both, but I would add something else. I think they lost confidence and they lost a little bit of the eager that it was pre-COVID. So probably they've been left for a long time, space and time to think of themselves, to think of life, to think of priorities, value, families, and things. That time basically allowed them to, in a way, open their eyes in other different ways. So I think they are more similar to European now, somehow.
They're more philosophical.
Yeah, a little bit more. I mean, if before we had in our mind the logic of they were like working 12 hours a day, very career-oriented, very focused on making money. That was the attitude. I mean, I'm talking for the first-tier cities, okay? So that was the explosion of the last 15 years, right? So everybody was like boosting to make success, to raise the social status and so on. Within that time frame, they basically had time to stop. So somehow they got back to something more real. So I think less to achieve, but more to believe and to feel the present. So what is missing to China right now, I think, in general, and it sounds a bit harsh. I think it looks like the vision of the future. So the vision of what would be. You remember, we talked about before COVID, they were slightly ahead, if not ahead, on the side of US, right? In terms of development. So they were very strong. They were very, very competitive, and they were somehow very aggressive to conquer, the throne of being the number one country in terms of development, right? So in terms of in terms of things, it happens. And China was on the top before COVID. So now it's missing that kind of vision to what next. And I believe it's on not gonna go into politics, absolutely not. But I believe in probably is the direction of the vision of the country, the direction. So where they want to be.
Yes.
They were, when they had the vision, they want to become the larger manufacturers of the world, they became the largest manufacturers of the world. When they had a vision, now, for example, I see they have one vision, for example, become the electric car in the world.
They've made it. Yeah.
They made it. They are making it. So I see like.
Can you please pull this a little bit?
Oh, sorry. I see. We all see this to happening. So, but I think in somehow, let's say, in business might happen. At the same time, in people's mind, is missing the drive right now.
I am a little bit.
All my Chinese friends will actually want to kill me right now.
No. But But let's say I want to make a note for my Chinese friends. This is all with respect. This is all with respect, coming from someone that admires that country.
Yeah.
But it is true that before the Chinese people before 2020, they had 2 extra gears compared to Europeans. Just to be disclaimer for those of you living in China or in Hong Kong that haven't been to Europe in a real context, people don't do shit normally, at least until they are, desperate. Chinese did. I remember when I was living in China in 2012. I was living in Hangzhou, and it was pumping. Pumping, doing party business. Everyone was trying something. Everyone was hustling, faking things. It was, and now, when I went in May last year, I found people that were they just if they were a car, they were going in 4th gear, not on 6th gear.
Yes.
I went in October to Beijing to do a business trip with a lady that, as a priority, she found on WeChat a cycling group, found someone that gave her a bike, because for her it was the most important thing, was to go on a bike ride before going to work. And I'm like, are you on a business trip or on a holiday? And I am the hippiest person you can imagine on summer, but when I'm working, and I was like, this would have never happened a few years ago. So I thought it's a little bit frightening, because I thought I was dealing with weird people. Sorry, if you see this, you are weird.
Priority switch.
Priority switch. Yeah.
And everybody taken as the negative. I mean, if you are in business, of course, you want to then to be pumped up, and you want to, let's say I came back from Shanghai after COVID, and I said, what happened? So I said, my gosh, it's like I'm missing a piece of of Shanghai that it was there. It wasn't there. And but at the same time, I start to also, going back little by little, and I start to appreciate and I start to see the next phase. And I think it's gonna be, when they ask me like what's next, I think the next is gonna be very different than what I've seen so far and what we've seen, not just in the last 3 years, but what we've seen long time ago. So it's a very different environment, and it will be a different environment. Now, for example, in my opinion, if you are, let's say, a foreigner and you want to start from scratch a business in China,
it's good. No?
In my opinion, if you're not aware, and if you're not able to understand the market, if you're not able to understand the people and things, you're going to have a huge, like, cold shower.
Oh, no. For sure. No, but I think the context now for foreigners, after a few years of society sending themselves the message of, now it's okay if we live by ourselves. Thank you for the company, but we can manage. It's okay if you go back to your country.
Yeah.
Now they're welcoming back people.
Yeah.
Which I think is the positive aspect of all of this.
Yep.
I am very curious. We'll get into the how to enter the Chinese market later, but in the immediate moment, we have something quite significant, which is the arrival of the year of the dragon, which normally is a big celebration. I have 2 questions regarding that, and maybe this is just, educated guessing. Will companies spend? Because it's a big promotion moment for everyone. Will companies spend significantly, or will they be shy?
You probably seen my LinkedIn post recently.
No, I haven't.
No, because I wrote an article on retail in Asia about that. But I have my opinion and feeling. I did before in the past years, even during COVID, large campaign for brands, fashion brands especially, where they invest quite significant amount of money in promoting Chinese New Year festivities, in promoting cultural, those very much cultural, meaningful campaign that are very much important for the brand awareness of every luxury or fashion brand, for example. I see this year a huge decrease of that interest and spending. Not just because we didn't do any campaign on Chinese New Year, that is quite unusual because we always do multiple campaigns for brands. This year, we did not do anything creative or anything interesting, I think. And what I saw so far, there are a few case studies that are quite prominent that I think, but I was expecting, for example, as the Year of the Dragon, something explosive.
Yes.
I mean, you expected for so many years this kind of
this arrival, right? Let's make a kid.
Yeah, let's make a kid. Let's work on something bigger, right? But I don't see the interest of especially of foreign brands to develop catchy and very interesting contents that are relevant at the moment. So that's what I saw so far. But again, it's still not Chinese New Year, so there might happen something so soon. For example, I would say Nike, one of my favorite campaigns. Has been for many years. So I always look at Nike as one of the case studies. Nike, and one more case study that I quite like on Chinese New Year is Ferrero Rocher, because it's an Italian brand get into Chinese culture and they do it immensely good. So I found it very, very interesting. Nike is also one of the most interesting case study every year. So this year they create a very short film. So usually they create a long film with a very meaningful and family-oriented, and there is a lot of very sentimental, very emotional. So that moments where the brand express their own family and all this gratitude, it's encapsulated in 3 minutes video. This year, the video was about 30 seconds. And I don't know if it's the only one, if it's the last one, the only one, but what I've seen so far did not actually got my attention at all.
Yeah.
And somehow I was expecting especially from Nike to be, the dragon.
Do you think it's because of lack of, let's say, it's a mistake, or, lack of talent, or lack of planning, or because they feel like it's not sensitive to be flamboyant in a moment in which society is not ready for flamboyancy?
I don't think it's that, even though it might be one of the good point. I think there are other priorities to be taken care of than this, and that's my feeling, because there are some priorities in terms of, for example, structures, in terms of companies, in terms of what's the financial year look like, what's the investment look like. So it's a more a moment of strategy than a moment of action. So that's my feeling behind the scene.
Okay. No, it's we will see. It's interesting. I have only seen a couple of important initiatives, important in a certain way. I saw that Vacheron Constantin they did an amazing limited edition collection, beautiful. When I walked past a couple of weeks ago Tycoon here in Hong Kong, they were doing an amazing, colorful video installation. They were doing, let's say, the testing, and I said to myself, "Wow, is the Year of the Dragon?" But apart from that, I saw nothing else.
So you see, there is something, right? There's something.
There are bits and pieces,
Yeah, but you expect something explosive, right?
Yeah, you expect a dragon the size of Victoria Bay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. It's a pity because my wife is a dragon, and she was expecting a big celebration. And I said, not for the rabbit, not for the dragon. I'm so sorry.
We also did expect big budgets, but didn't come during the dragon. So anyway.
So even you that work with China, or even Chinese that live in China, sometimes they are surprised because China is an ever-changing environment. What aspects of the Chinese market are more difficult to understand to the average manager or business owner in Europe?
Oh wow.
This
Yeah,
is
I
a
build-
million. This
I-
is one of the big questions.
I build up a company on that. So my company is entirely built on this. There is a bit of cockiness on the side of the European headquarters usually. That's also a genuine cockiness. So to maintain especially, wait, let me go back 1 second. We work especially with a lot of foreign brands, like Western brands, and we also do work with Chinese brands. Okay, so we have these two way of thinking extremely far away from each other, and extremely the vision and the attitude very, very different. So we know exactly, I can blindly see, even without seeing the name of the clients, if the client is Chinese or if the client is Western. I can blindly see it, the way they do it, just by seeing the process of the workflow.
Yep.
So when you actually work with Western brands, the genuine cockiness is actually what maintained the hype of the Western brand itself, awareness. So the fact that we are a little bit cocky in what we do, it's because of the heritage, because of the years spent in building brands. Let's say I can name hundreds of thousands of brands, but let's name the one we might know, Ferrari. So you talk about over 100 years old brands, and you talk about an heritage brand, a racing brand, not a car brand, it's a racing brand. Create stories, create memories in the imagination of kids, of our grandparents, and ourselves. So you have generation of people building up brand awareness. Now that gives us the cockiness of our brands and our heritage and our history. When you actually tell them how to embrace China in terms of what to do in terms of marketing in China, the problem is like they will tell you, we know how to do marketing in China, the same way we do marketing here and the same way we do marketing in US. Why should it be different? And the reality is like the message and the brand vision and values must be the same somehow. But the geolocalization of that message and the geolocalization of that vision that translate into contents and translate into marketing messages and operation that you do in China must be localized by locals. If you miss that, and if you miss that kind of geolocalization, the risks are basically two. You fail, and your brand goes down.
Yep.
You fail, and your brand goes out. So basically, we see in many cases.
It's a big risk, yes.
Yeah,
Very real risk.
Real risk, and also the risk is like to get back on track into a market where they reject you, and then to rebuild your awareness with people that already disgrace you. So it's a very complicated thing. We did have few case studies. I mean, not case studies. Few project where we actually face this kind of problematic, where a certain message given by the quarter must be followed straight, and that kind of following straight is not relevant or not meaningful to a country where you're going to, like China, and that kind of twisted back. So, and by twisting back, you have to explain that it is not your agency or your advertising strategy, is more like the messaging that it was wrong. But try to convince the company that made those messages, and say, look, this is not relevant to Chinese, and this happening literally every day.
I have a dream for Lodes, which I'm probably, if there is someone from the company listening to this, they will think I'm crazy, because it's something I have confessed to very few people. But I think my dream, if we want to be extremely successful, which I think is my goal, is the owner's goal, we need to have a marketing based here.
Yeah.
I am very sorry, and this is gonna grant me at least 2 or 3 enemies, but it's not personal. And it can be in Lodes, it can be in Floss, it can be in Artemide, I can say all of the lighting companies. It is impossible, literally impossible, to do the switch between platforms and language there and platforms and language here. It's just impossible. Either you trust a company like yours, which I think is the best solution for many companies.
I do think so too.
Yes. Did you see how I did that?
I also do think so.
or you open your own marketing head here. This is, let's say, in the delivery. Regarding the identity, I have some doubts because the thing about China is that the speed in which society and trends change, it's so high that even Chinese have a hard time catching up at times, but certainly Europeans. My question is how to try to localize the message without bastardizing, if you admit the word, jeopardizing the brand values. Because if you try to satisfy the market today, you might not satisfy the market tomorrow. I know, again, it's a very difficult question, but how do you strike a balance between keeping the brand value and adapting to that?
I think somehow the brand value are the fundamental, right? So basically it's the base. So it's like if you remove the base, let's make an architectural example. If you remove a base, the pillars of a building cannot stand somehow. No matter what you do on top, cannot stand. No matter how beautiful you can make it, will just collapse. So those values that companies are treasure somehow. So let's say I give you an example on a much larger scale. The values of Google is not succeeding in China, apart from the war and so on, because one of those values is actually the freedom of sharing anything that people wants. Okay, so the liberty of being able to share what do you think. Okay, that's in certain country is not allowed. So if you remove that value, the company itself collapses.
Yeah.
Okay, so you can't. So basically, it's safer not to jeopardize one value than giving a piece of a country. In this case, of course, is we know. So those are fundamental that cannot be completely removed or cannot be played with. Now, if a company like, let's say, Lotus has great fundamentals, great brand identity, that cannot be touched somehow. Now, the geolocalization is not a brand identity. The geolocalization is actually the message that's been taking the values and the pillars and then translated properly to another country, another place. So the way of translating that can be done badly, can be done nicely, can be done correctly, or can be done exponentially. So basically you can enhance even more. I'll give you an example. The BMW did a great example of his name in China. That means wild horse. So it's Puma.
Yes.
So, and that's a great example. I still remember when I was studying university, a master that was talking about semiotics and things.
Yes.
And that to me was a great example of how a brand increase the value and increase the awareness by geolocalizing something. Now, if you think geolocalization is an enemy, like a lot of brands think, because it jeopardizes if there is a risk to jeopardize your assets, your global assets, then you are basically failing the process. If you think instead that the geolocalization can add value and bringing back the geolocalization and bring it back as an exercise overseas, to bring it back in, let's say, in your own headquarters, and then even transform that into something more and communicate that into something more, that will bring you a lot of more values. So you become, let's say, BMW somehow with this exercise of making himself this kind of awareness. It gives solidity and it gives this amazing
bravery
look and feel of a brand itself.
Yeah.
So we don't call it wild horse in Germany.
No.
So
No.
at the same time, they don't disgrace the fact that they call it wild horse in China. So
it is because BMW has been in China for a very long time.
yeah.
It is Chinese name is still very important. Do you reckon?
I do think so. I don't think it's not extremely probably necessary.
Sorry to break your balls.
You can
you can pull it.
I don't think it's totally. I don't think it's a must somehow. But if you are, let's say, a global brand, and if you are, let's say, at the level of Coca-Cola,
You have to.
If let's say, you won't give the name, the people will give you a name.
And you want to control what name they give you. Yeah. Yeah, I get it.
The smart thing is like to probably, motivate people to call you with the name that you want it somehow, rather than them inventing something that might be a cutie one that doesn't fit to you somehow.
Yeah, and this is, let's say, important for big companies, and especially for companies that are building a name in China.
Yeah.
So, lesson number one, I think this is very important. Another question that for me, I believe we partially replied to it before, but I want to go expressly to it now. Compared to European clients, do you think that Chinese or Asian, for what it's worth, they take purchasing decisions driven by the brand, more or less than Europeans, let's say? Is the brand more important for a Shanghaiese or for a Milanese?
I think right now, I would say we're very much equal. If you would ask me 5-6 years ago, definitely, and European brands or American brands might be concerned 100% of their own brands, and then of course they purchase, but then the brand's asset and the brand's vision, mission, values, and all this might be the untouchable fundamental. Right now, in China is happening a transformation. So, just to let you know, when 10 years ago I had the vision of my company, the mission of the company at that time, that then we pivot to something more wider. But at the time, it was building brands in China. So basically, we started as builder. So we were like the one trying to educate Chinese manufacturers that were looking into building their own brands. So we talk about the third generations of, let's say, Chinese son of mega manufacturer. They were coming back from Harvard or coming back from Cambridge, and they were getting back to China, and they had the willingness, they have the I would say the lure of building up their own brands. They have the manufacturers, they have the production, they have the products, they know how to do it. They've done for many, many years. Their fathers and grandfathers have been working for many years, and now they're ready to build the brands, ready to build their own brands. Now this is 10 years ago. Now, if someone still believe that Chinese are not able to make brands, I think they're not living in this planet. I mean, Chinese, they are excellent brand builder right now. Excellent.
Look, I think it's any smart company should go now to their travel agent and book a flight ticket for all the marketing department. I heard say to someone that during a meeting talking about Chinese market, they say no, the Chinese are evolving. I'm like, I see so many wrong things in that phrasing. The retail experience of BYD.
Neo. I just tell you Neo.
It's
incredible.
It's incredible. It's incredible. Even Five Guys.
Incredible.
When you go to Five Guys in Jing'an area in Shanghai, you come here. I don't know. It's supposed to be the same branding, but somehow there it feels better, bigger, more impactful, more advanced.
Look at the case studies of Starbucks. Okay, they are the one basically they brought coffee in China somehow. Okay, they brought the coffee concept in China of become a leisure place where you actually engage, when you sit down, where you have the status symbol of going around the mug with a cup of Starbucks. You are the foreignized person in Shanghai. Right now, the amount of lacking coffee or manner that are in China right now, double it. The amount, triple it, the amount of Starbucks there in China. How did they
expand so fast?
Create an amazing network of open up stores. Like they opened 300 stores, I don't know, in a few months, each brands, and they start to do collaboration co-branding. Mano did the co-branding with Louis Vuitton.
Yes.
Okay,
Well, that's a very interesting topic, by the way.
Yeah, another story. But I would say, if you ever order a coffee to Luckin Coffee, you will understand a lot of things. So first of all, you got to open a mini program on WeChat. So and already you start to input your name and surname. So get your data. Then you have a multiple type of promotion that basically blinker on your phone with discount, with new products, with promotion, with VIP card. So the technology behind of your purchase, it basically immerse you somehow.
Yes.
You're just missing the hologram that comes out on the phone, and then you have all. So the speed of deliveries, the speed of services, it's excellent. The quality of coffee, I would say, it's very decent. So nothing to be, envy of Starbucks. They know the local better. They know the locals a lot better. They speak really not just the language, but they speak their own meaningful thing. So somehow, I think, Starbucks is losing track somehow in China. And meanwhile, of course, coffee is becoming a commodity, while before it was not. It was like the status symbol thing. Right now, you can see various milk tea, coffee, various chains that open up mega stores in Shanghai with, let's say, or Beijing with beautiful environments. So they master retail experience. They master digital experience. They master community engagement. They master collaboration and co-branding. So this is branding.
No, absolutely. Branding at the end of the day is creating the perception of your product, of your company.
Now, branding is an holistic journey of a consumer, right? So the consumer is being taken from the online to offline, as we know, and back again to the offline. So somehow you have a lot of journey around, and then you have the customer experience at the shops, you have the service at the shop, you have the products. So product is a piece of it. You have the promotions. Of course, you have the price as well. So the price is very fundamentally important for them, because right now, before not, but right now, if you can get the same coffee with 25 quite less, you might go for it.
Yep.
So why not? It's a commodity.
Yeah.
So maybe I want to get the luxury one, the blue bottle in this experience, but maybe I go there on Saturday or Sunday. But when I get a coffee in the morning, I don't mind to get a Manner or to get Luckin Coffee. Even me, I'm an Italian, and I honestly got an espresso Luckin Coffee, and it's pretty good. I like it.
I mean, probably it's 80% there. So
it took me 20 minutes on the app to translate everything. But it was okay.
So I hope that with this new attitude that the Chinese government has adopted, they will translate the apps into English at least.
No, but they have the English version. It's just, a little bit.
It's
not the priority language. Yeah.
We are not used to it, and we are talking about an app. Let me get the conversation back to companies that maybe are not so big that they don't have the resources to have an impact right away. The problem that I see in many small to medium companies in Europe, of which there are many, is that Asia, at a certain point, they say, okay, we want to invest in Asia. Asia, we are talking about China now. But because they haven't invested before, China is a small market. So since they apply the same factor into the marketing investment, the results are extremely tiny. And, it's like a vicious circle that is very difficult to get out from. Do you know any virtuous example of, a small company that has the vision to say, okay, maybe China is 3% of my company. I'm going to invest 10% or 15% of my marketing budget in there. And is there a good result that we can inspire people with?
I do think the logic behind has to be coming from a different direction. For example, all the European companies, let's say, now we talk about Europeans, but anyway, even Western companies somehow, or foreign company, we call it China as that, and then foreign that goes into China. They have to logic first on one point, not considering them as an entity, them as a product, them as a services, and say, oh, we're going to launch in China because it's a new market, it's another market for us. The question is more like, would my products be in China make a difference somehow, or be interested, or there is an actually a target audience that is literally willing to buy and to make a preference among other brands and mine in this category? So how my brands is actually make a difference or make a differentiation between the millions of brands that currently are in China. For example, furniture. You have, before 10 years ago, you have the copy of all, okay? Now you have the copy of all, plus the non-copy that are pretty good design as well, okay? With very affordable price, very good design, and an ability to ship this kind of products in no time.
Yep.
Okay, so let's say I'm a new furniture brands in Europe. I want to enter this market. So I have to import. I have to start to create my own, differentiation in China. My product has to get something that in China there is not yet, unless I want to enter the market in a very crowded environment, and my product is more expensive.
Yep.
It takes more time to arrive because it's from Europe. So somehow I have to deliver, create a stock somewhere there. So building all this journey. So does my products really necessary or not right now? So, and what make the difference? This is the logic that first brands has to make.
Yep.
Before saying I'm entering a market because I literally want 3% more next year. Because the question that I ask after, it's your brand willing to lose money next year to enter the market?
Yeah.
Because that's what's gonna happen. If you tell me like you have an original product that nobody has, you have a Cybertruck and you put it on Shanghai, of course there is no Cybertruck.
Yes.
Okay. So right now, Elon Musk launched a Cybertruck in Shanghai a few days ago, I think 2 days ago. That product has been all over social media. Why? Because it's such an absurd design. Okay. Like it or not like it, it's such an incredible thing. Okay.
Yeah.
No cars is the same. So then that is something that the market doesn't have. Okay. And that will make rumor, buzz, willingness to buy, interest.
Yep.
This is what you need. Of course, we talk about the best marketer in the world, Elon Musk. So there is nobody like him. So does your product has this? No. Okay, so what has your products to be different? Then you study, you strategize. So you spend money, because to make a strategy, a proper strategy to enter a market and to invest into such a big market to make a return of it, you have to really, really plan ahead a serious investment, a serious one. Plus, you're not talking about all the other channels and things that are happening in China. So, for example, if I can buy literally a lamp and they can deliver to me in about 4 hours, and if I don't like that lamp, they can pick them up in about 1 hour. That doesn't make any. I mean, there is no logic behind China that can do that. Yeah. So no other countries it's actually used to do that. Yeah. So you have to logic completely in a different way. But do the entrepreneurs in the province of Novara in the middle of nowhere in the north of Italy knows that kind of logic? What he will tell you is like, but we sell all over the world already. And we are super strong. Why China cannot buy these products? Or for sure China will succeed. For sure.
Now I'm smiling, but I'm not saying anything. You cannot imagine how many times I've listened to that. I'm not talking, by the way, about my present company.
No, but I don't name any brands. I don't name anyone. Actually,
no, but I thought it was reality. Sometimes it's extremely funny.
This is what I saw in the last 10 years on my journey as an entrepreneur and as a building and running also brands in China. So somehow.
No, I know many examples that can adhere to what you're saying in the case of Lodes, because then before I put an insert for branding records, now I need to do it for Lodes. We are actually a little bit that already in Europe, by the way. There are certain logistic hiccups of moving that model here, but we ship. We are the fastest. We ship within the day in Europe, which I mean I don't know how the replacements work, but when we receive an order before noon, we ship before the end of the day, which is
in Europe.
Yeah, extraordinary. Yeah. Yes,
but just to let you understand, I mean, for example, just to look an overview of the channel, the functionality of the channels, because I mean, I'm talking to a professionalist in Hong Kong, so you know perfectly that China has totally different channels.
Yes.
So from the communication channel to e-commerce channels, marketplaces, everything is
too many. For my taste.
It's a totally another environment. So it's a different planet. It's like you are in Mars.
Yeah.
Okay. So within that already, just to understand the logic behind, just for the marketer in the European quarter.
In Novara, we're in Novara. We are still Novara.
Yeah, well, Novara. To understand the logic behind all these marketplaces and behind the logic, so how does Red work? So how does Alipay work in a transaction and you can purchase products in certain channel but not on other channels? So just the ecosystem, just to understand the ecosystem, it requires a tiny workshop. Just with a key stakeholder of the company, because you're not going to talk about this to the CEO probably. He doesn't care about seeing that how does it work on show. But at the same time, you need to have an overview for the people to understand where they are encountering next.
Yep.
So sooner or later, if you want to enter China, if you want to sell products in China, you have to know the basic, okay? And even for myself, every time I go to China, so I will go to Shanghai, my general manager in Shanghai look at me and say, you don't know this new app? I said, no.
No, in fact, the exercise of keeping up with every new platform, it has to be fatiguing even for them.
It's fatigue, but also it's China relate a lot on trends. So now, of course, you have Douyin that is like pump it up for brands, so everybody has to be on Douyin. Okay, so Douyin it has a very complicated logic. So a brand can be on Douyin, but a brand cannot be the Douyin page every single day. It's becoming like an absurd work. You have to engage into influencer, KOL, consumers. So you have to get contents from creative contents from a producer. You have to create those contents that are not too branded, that are more authentic. Otherwise, the consumer won't relate to. So all this logic, it's a class. It's a master class.
It is a master class. I'm gonna make you one very difficult question, and then I'm gonna make you two easy ones. Imagine that now we're going to make a case study of a hypothetical company. We still keep Novara as a town for our headquarters.
Sorry for the people from Novara right now.
No, Novara, fantastic place. I've been there. A little bit too much like Modena in November, but I'm sure that in the deep winter and spring is fantastic. You have this company. You have you're turning over 30 million euro. You are healthy, good cash flow, good profit. No market close to no market in China. How do you? I give you the keys, and I say, okay, Jacopo, in my vision goes through expanding and being important, relevant in the Chinese market. What do we prioritize first?
Number one, a physical strategy. So a real deck that tells you the fundamental, but tells you your vision for China. So if China you plan ahead and you put, let's say, goal, like any other country should be done, without the urgency of selling, because that's the problem. Company fail because they fail to believe in China within the process. So if you have that, if you put milestone in that deck, that could be opening distribution channels, of course, openings like online retailers, opening a mini program, custom mini program, start to engage KOL, start to create contents on site. There are many activities, not one single activity. There is one single deck that has to be approved. And that deck, with the end of the deck, has an investment plan in terms of money and a timeline with goals.
Yes.
So if you have those goals precisely done, it depends on, for example, your brands might be 30 million, might be a bit tinier for larger scale thing. But for example, what I can say, there is a lot of Chinese that traveling overseas. Okay, so basically in Europe, in Italy, that love to buy or love to actually engage with the products in factories in Italy, for example. That could be a start, a mild start to engage and to get a conversation with the Chinese consumer. Those Chinese consumer, those KOL, micro KOL, they will bring back the world. You remember my case study was mentioned to Marvis, and Marvis was like on the stage during the that kind of case study. To me, obviously, the director did an amazing job in Hong Kong and China, but at the same time, they were quite honestly lucky as well. So they were bringing, without knowing, products to China from KOL because their packaging and products were beautiful. So somehow that was a lucky coincidence, but then they work around brilliantly to create the awareness, to maintain the awareness, and to expand. So without creating an enormous amount of activities that are irrelevant. They plan properly. So they planning ahead, strategize with an investment, with milestone. It is the only thing to do. Without that, going for one channel, you might be unsatisfied because the return of investment of that channel is not enough.
Yep.
And then the question from the quarter will be, we went to this channel you mentioned, and then you didn't sell it. Or you sell 2 pieces and it's not enough. So it's more costly than that. Then you have no excuses. All right. If you have milestone, if you have a strategy within the ecosystem of China and within a proper plan, then yes, you can work around. You can have. We saw it with few brands in the last few years, in the last 10 years.
Can you name a few?
Well, there is an amazing brands, sport brands that we work with. That it was launching ski products, Rossignol.
I know it, yes, very well.
Yeah. So Rossignol did, to my impression, Simone did an amazing job actually. So somehow he managed to enter into a country where there were no ski, there was no snowboarding, there was no nothing. So he leveraged also the fact that we're Winter Olympic, but he managed to do properly. He managed to engage community. He managed to open resorts, in ski resorts. He managed to launch and he managed to engage consumers that were not, aware of this.
Yes.
In China, you talk about 15 years ago, people never actually wear ski unless you are a pro. Now, if you scroll WeChat moments, there is winter time. There is a lot of people in Niseko, a lot of people in northern China, a lot of people in Europe skiing, making selfies with these fashionable clothes of Rossignol, Barton, and all this cool stuff. There was nothing before. So why they did that? I still remember that day that we did an exercise in Shenzhen together. We did the strategy together. So we built up, obviously then Simone did an amazing job by himself, but we started with a strategy. We started with a deck, a presentation in a room, in an hotel room in Shenzhen, with understanding the market, ecosystem, the marketplaces, the retail environment, first tier cities, second tier cities, target audience, naming, so messaging. We build up together with the brands a plan.
What do you have any idea what is the turnover of Rossignol now in China, roughly? No. Well, we have to check that out. I believe that what you just said is extremely important, and I like your reply very much. I think going back to what I said at the beginning, I wanted to make questions that maybe were a little bit less fun and less conversational, but this has a lot of value, at least for me. So when we clip it and we share it, I hope that a lot of people will open their ears and open their eyes.
Yeah, I always try my best to engage even with conversation with clients. Is the only thing is like sometimes it's very difficult. You don't have time to get through that kind of conversation, that deeper conversation, before getting to the effective business.
Yes.
And this is where I think, knowledge is power, right? So if you give them the tools, if you give them the knowledge to see it through, to understand first,
Yes.
then they will make better and brighter decision. If you have limited amount of knowledge, you will make irrational decision that will guide you to something that is nowhere the result you wanted to achieve, because you haven't put the result yet. You haven't put the goal yet, the milestone, the thing.
Yes. You are walking
Blind.
you're walking in the mountains without a map. Yes. Yeah.
And believing these fantasies that I think, and this is a message probably for all the brands that haven't been yet to China. You believe in the fantasy that 1.3 billion people, there might be bias. Yes, 1.3 billion, there might be a billion brands.
Yeah.
So how do you make yourself relevant?
Yeah. No. It's very deep. It's very deep what you just said, and now I think we should encourage people to go back to the travel agent and next to the marketing department, put also the stakeholders of the company, because it is important that they spend time, not only staying. And I'm not, let's say, accusing anyone, by the way, but a lot of the times when you travel for work in China, you miss the point, because you go to the hotel, you go to the restaurant, you go to the meeting, and you don't walk the sidewalk, and you don't pay attention. And this bridging that you guys are doing, I think, is extremely important. So
there are many. I would say last year I was in Bocconi. I don't know if
Yeah.
you know the school, and I was doing a seminar with another 3 very bright people. One of these was an expert in marketplaces, so called Josh, Kung Fu Data, and there was another one called Arnold, an expert of communication in China. So we were all like sharing thoughts and sharing best practice in China, and somehow I felt the 3 presentations that we have were pretty, solid. At the same time, did not surprise me, but I have the feeling that the audience were very surprised and somehow were very unaware of a lot of things. So that kind of feeling I had, and I did Bocconi, but I also did in Paris, I did in Berlin, and in Madrid. I went around with this group of very talented entrepreneurs as well. And then I remember the faces and the questions of the people were very like you never actually land physically with the vision, with the open eyes, and in China. At the same time, there are people like Josh, like Arnold, that knows so well, and they can, in few hours, can literally guide you through all the hassles, all the problematic. They will tell you, like, don't do that, like go to that way. So it's a fact of engaging this kind of talents and engaging this kind of companies that allows you to be more knowledgeable.
Yes. I will always fight to be updated and never to fall off the track, even though now I'm expending time in doing something that I believe doesn't exist in China. Do you think podcasting is a thing in China?
It is. Not the same channels that you have, but it is.
It is. But
of course.
what type of formats do they use?
I think that the shorter one, definitely. So something that is way shorter than what we've done, probably. So, and the channels, are multiples. So I think of Bilibili or other channels, you can find a lot of podcasts probably like this. So like the one we're doing now. At the same time, I think the shorter it is, the better it probably will be effective.
It is true. In fact, when you said at the beginning things about clips, and I listen to you, I pay a lot of attention. I now try to first publish the long format, and then when I have time, which is I start releasing the shorts, and then I release in the meantime the clips, which are totally unnoticed. I believe I have to change. I need to do the clips before release the long format, which no one will care really, and then focus on the shorts.
Yeah,
I think that's what's going to be.
Because there are, let's say, there are also some. If you summarize few key points. I mean, we talked for like an hour and a half or something. But if you summarize in few key points, there are few when the conversation starts to spark. There are few messages that are quite relevant, right?
Yes.
They're quite interesting.
Yes.
And those messages probably, if you have in a long version one, it might get diluted because your attention span, as we said before, start to going down. While instead, if you compress those messages and if you identify those key messages and you compress them, then you create something relevant that the audience might relate more.
Yes, 100%.
Shorter time.
100%. I think I can tell you that if there is something I want to improve, but for that I need to invest money. So and it's mainly from my own pocket. So as an entrepreneur, I tend to be greedy. Is actually having someone help me with the shorts, because AI is not really that good at choosing and understanding which is the right moment. So you need to have someone that watches the whole thing with a pen and paper.
Yeah.
And writes down, then passes to someone that edits, that cuts and does stuff. Yeah. But we'll get there. This is episode 13 of the last meeting of the week. Even though today is not the end of the week, but we had to make time before Chinese New Year. Did you have fun?
Very much. I hope you also have fun. I mean, I have to listen myself again on what I said, what the stupid things I said, but
no. I believe I am very lucky because every episode I listen to myself saying this really has been productive. You always learn something. The main thing about this podcast, for me, the main goal is to have this type of conversation. If we can clip a bit that then you can share, because there are a few sections that I believe are super interesting to share, and then you get some value out of it, I'm happy. But for me, this exchange is 100%.
Yeah, no, for me as well. I mean, the sharing session is what counted the most at the moment. I mean, of course, I cannot say monetize, but I can say I can make value by sharing our channels as well. So make my own on my own channels. But at the same time, I honestly have to say that this is like this kind of conversation, this kind of vibe. It's more joyful as well. Short
format is interesting, but this atmosphere in which you talk about things that having a beer, we would talk about other topics. Yeah. But you normally don't go into this depth that, at least for me, is super valuable. So I thank you very much. I will make sure that some people that I'm thinking about now listen to this podcast. And
no, for sure.
And I know I'm going to see you around because we go to the gym close together. We go to the same gym. We have the office like in 3 minutes.
Our life is literally in 2 kilometers.
Yes. I sell a collection of lamps designed by the studio in which your wife works. And I am sure we have more interconnections. In the meantime, Jacopo, thank you very much. I enjoy this talk. So and for the rest of you, whoever made it to the end, it was a long journey. Actually. It was a long journey. But actually, that I promised to anyone that watched the last episode with Edgar Sanui that lasted 2 hours and a half, I promised them a dinner in whichever restaurant they wanted. And there were a couple of very weird people that live in Saikun with nothing to do that listen to everything. And they wrote a comment. They say, you need to comment this, and they did it. So now I want comments now. So now I don't promise. You made it until here. You want comments? No, please leave a comment, and maybe I'll buy you a beer. Maybe not dinner in a Michelin star because I'm broke already. Thank you very much. See you next week, and see you around. Thank you. Ciao. Ciao. Come ti è sembrato?